everybody, it's Robert Dunt from ArtTop10.com, and I'm very excited this afternoon to be chatting with Melissa Kime. Melissa, hello.
Hi.
So how are you? How are you? You've literally just moved into a new studio, I think, is that right?
Yeah, so because I've just moved to Deptford anyway, and now my studio's in Deptford. So
Cool.
before it was in Hackney, and during the lockdown I couldn't really get there at all.
No,
Because
yeah.
I couldn't get public transport. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
so glad now I've got a new space.
Oh, no, and this one's easier to get to and everything.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes.
Oh, nice one, cool.
It's warmer as well.
It's warmer, yeah, no, I remember being in a really cold, horrible studio. Well, it wasn't a horrible studio, it was just very cold. But, nice one, cool. So I guess you haven't had much chance other than just to put up a few of your things so far, have you? You haven't got down
And
to...
also like during the lockdown, I've not been able to I normally work on quite a large scale and I haven't been able to do that. So I've had to spend this time going back to drawing again, which has been quite nice. But it's made me also quite anxious about getting the painting done. I'm doing big charcoal drawings.
Okay. Do you want to show us? Yeah, show us some of the drawings you've been doing in lockdown.
So I've been doing things like this.
Okay, cool. Cool, nice. Yeah, hold it. Ease it a little. Oh, back the other way. I was going to say actually a bit further out, so I can get a nice. Yeah, that's it. Cool, fantastic. So what's that one about? What's that one about?
It's called Just Drown Her. And so I kind of like my titles to be quite funny, and I'm really interested in the ritualistic elements that females have. Like it started with the hair braiding, because in my job I used to work as a lifeguard, and we used to hide from the managers by going into the disabled toilet, and some of the girls there were really good at braiding, so we used to just braid each other's hair.
What,
and
while hiding in the loop?
Huh?
So you braid each other's hair while you were hiding?
In the toilet.
Cool stuff.
In Leighton Leisure Centre. We were all very different girls and came from very different backgrounds, but the one thing that we had in common was this braiding, and it kind of made me think about the female lineage, how women kind of exist in their mothers or their grandmothers as they're an egg in the womb, and I don't know, just that bond that females have. So it started kind of looking at that, but then I sort of wanted when I was drawing that, I was drawing it by a river, and I was really anxious about something. And I remember my mum just saying, "Oh, just because when you get anxious and you get a voice in your head that's if you do this, this will happen, blah blah blah." A bit of an OCD. My mum was just drown the voice or something like that, because I was by the river. So then I kind of took that and made it into this drawing, and I started looking at Lord of the Flies, but wanted to do it from a female perspective. And I put some other ones as well, this is...
Oh yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Cool, nice. And what was that one? What's that one called?
This is about Avebury and Stonehenge. I started drawing stuff like that again.
Oh, you couldn't show it again and hold it a bit longer, so I can see a bit more. Okay, cool. What made you think about Stonehenge and Avebury and those sort of things?
So I used to live by Stonehenge and Avebury when I was little. So I'm from Wiltshire and I grew up around there. And when I was little, we used to be able to go and play with the stone, go up and touch them, and I used to play with them, and it was really fun. And I always found them, I think I found them slightly scary because of their connotations, but also I found them really beautiful. And in Avebury, in the museum, there's a skeleton of a child that was found underneath one of the stones, and the image of seeing it at in its fetal position, and that it remains in that fetal position for all this time to now, from the Neolithic period, just really fascinated me from a child. And I then I started researching it more, and about how women used to be buried in these stone circles because they were seen as more important then, because they were fertile. And I liked the organic shapes and structures, and kind of how that has the fertility around it as well.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's weird. I've got a photo of myself as a young child sitting on a stone in Stonehenge, which of course you can't do now, but it's quite freaky, isn't it? So how would you describe your work if you were going to sort of explain it to somebody who was just coming to it for the first time?
I would describe it as it's semi-autobiographical, but it's also looking at like trials and tribulations that past women have experienced, and using their stories and sort of weaving them together to create these sort of landscapes or worlds of like kind of maybe about folklore and examining that, and about identity and about fertility, about motherhood and just female kind of lineage.
Well, it's quite nice that you're welding that sort of with the folklore thing at the same time. So you've got quite a nice sort of... So is it like interweave sort of real and historical narratives in a way? Or?
Yeah. Well, I used to just do work that was completely autobiographical. And I just kind of, when I was at the RCA, I used to do that. And I just kind of got a bit, like I was living it and then I was painting it.
It's just like a nightmare, wasn't it?
And felt a bit narcissistic as well. And then I remember I watched a documentary about the Highway of Tears, which is a stretch of road in Canada, where a lot of Indigenous women, well, they live along this or near this highway, but they're poorer, so they can't get to university or to the shops without having to hitchhike. But they keep going missing, and they're obviously murdered. But the Canadian police aren't putting any like effort into trying to find these girls or like do anything about it. And I felt really upset and kind of I wanted to do something for them. And then I started to think that's what I want to put into my work, like. I want to kind of help or be a voice for women.
Okay, well, that's nice. That's cool. That's really cool. And so when you start the pictures, are they sort of how much of it is describing that narrative, and how much of it is like formal decisions about the colours and the composition and things like that?
I think the narrative is the most important, but since, or like maybe more recently, I've decided that having more formalist ideas and the surface and everything is really important for me, and how it makes sense to the viewer. Like before, I just used to over detail everything, and I don't think I couldn't see a way in or a way out, and I think the viewers got confused with it too. So now I do. So maybe it's half and half now.
Interesting, actually. So in a way, you're saying you've almost been trying to refine down how you communicate to get a punchier sort of message across.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Why not show some of these drawings? They look really cool that are around you that you've been doing.
Okay, I'll look.
Yeah, nice.
I'm really bad at this. So these, can you see that?
Oh yeah. Move back a little bit. If you move back a little bit, we'll get a bit more. That's it. Cool. Okay, nice. I've got it. They're cool.
It's about like May Day and like the ritualistic. I really like the Wicker Man and kind of having the sacrificial May Day queen.
Yeah. The Wicker Man's a really freaky thing, isn't it? That film.
Yeah. But and also there's this Danish tradition where when you get married, you have to tie all your hands together with ribbon to kind of tie you into the relationship. And my friend married a Danish man, my friend Freddie, and so I sort of started to think of the ribbons like that. Okay,
that's quite freaky, because the guy on the or one of those people there, their hands do look like they're sort of mutating into like tentacles or rope or something in a way.
Yeah.
And
the charcoal allowed me to abstract it more.
That's quite. How big is that one? That's quite big, is it, that drawing? Is that charcoal, or is that sort of like wash? Is that a wash or watercolor as well?
So it is charcoal, and then I made a mistake, and I just used, and my hands were really dirty, so I just used a wipe, and then I wiped it.
Oh right, nice, cool. Oh, that's come out really effectively.
I kind of liked it. But this is a painting where I'm starting to do the stones and the.
Oh yeah, the stones, absolutely cool. I like it. Yeah, the stones are cool. So what is that on canvas?
Yeah, this is oil on canvas.
Oil on canvas, nice.
but I draw it all first.
Oh, you do draw it out all first, and sort of, yeah. So you wouldn't just go launching into the oil painting.
Yeah,
no,
I can't do that, and I've been told that maybe I should just start doing that, but I can't.
It's difficult.
I'm quite fussy with faces, and even though I look like it because they all look like the same, I still want them to look in a certain way.
Yeah, no, but you've got quite a nice kind of style of drawing the figure, haven't you? That's your own in a way, I suppose.
Yeah.
No.
Or maybe it's because I'm not really interested in like academic kind of drawing. Never been very good at it, and yeah. Should I sit back down?
Yeah, sure. Go for it. So how long have you been painting then?
Since foundation.
Okay.
Well, I've always done it. I've always drawn, and but I remember I did my foundation in Falmouth, and I kept being called an illustrator, and I didn't want to be an illustrator. Not that it's bad. I really wanted to be a painter. So I remember staying up like all night trying to make these really painterly, like expressionistic paintings so that they put me in the painting group.
Okay.
And that's when I really, I guess, focused on it. But I still used to draw and then paint the drawings. So
okay, that's quite intriguing. Yeah. So would you say you've always? Did you always know you'd be a painter? Was there a moment when you knew that's what you wanted to be, or was it always there?
My mum and dad are both really arty, and they used to take us to like art galleries all the time.
Okay, nice.
And when I was little, and my dad collected modern art, and I used to go to work with my mum as well when I was little, and she used to reupholster like rugs and tapestries again. So I've always been in that creative environment, so it was always seen as the most important thing.
Okay, nice.
And storytelling was very big in my family, and so my mum and dad would always encourage me to come back from a day trip and draw what I'd seen. So nice. I think drawing started from that, and I don't know, it was just natural. I didn't really think about it. I had many things I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a Blue Peter presenter. I wanted to be an actress and an artist. I used to want to play Tracy Emin in Move Her Life, which is quite embarrassing.
That's cool.
It just was kind of natural. It was just I had when I was 17, and I was deciding whether or not to go to art school or drama school. Okay. And then I did a foundation, and I decided I really wanted to do it.
So you did the foundation in a way to try and help you decide which one to do.
But I think it was always, that was just what I did all the time. So.
Yeah, so it made more sense in a way.
Yeah.
So do you think the paintings have a sort of sense of drama or the dramatic in them? Is that side still there? Are they sort of...
I like to think of them maybe as sort of like plays that I'm telling. I used to write with them. Now I don't. I find it hard to I find that makes them a bit twee, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
But I used to make these cutouts.
Okay. Oh, right. Those are yours as well over there?
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's quite interesting because they are more like... That's freaky, isn't it? They're a bit more like a play set.
They were the characters from the... so that you can't really see it because it's covered up, but that's a big painting in my MA.
Okay.
And then I'd make the characters, and I'd cut them out of MDF, and then I'd put them on stands, and then they'd become like props to the painting, so the characters stepped out of the painting in a way.
Oh, that's really cool. It's quite interesting because so that the narratives in the painting, they're almost like your own mini visual plays in a way, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have characters who sort of reappear, as it were? Would that be?
Yes, I have like the same cast. It used to be so I used to be really afraid of like people leaving my life and not coming back. So I used to draw like things and like repeatedly put them in these worlds as if I was creating kind of like a safe place for them.
Okay.
And then so I did that until like 2017 really. And so the cast, like my family, people, like relationships that I've been in, things like that. And then after I watched the documentary about the Highway of Tears, it became more about repeating these females. And I guess that some of them are like projections of me, but then so I really like collecting like Victorian photography and like First Holy Communion kind of stuff. So this is so she appears in it all the time, and her name is Madeline Millicent, and this was taken in 1917.
So how did you find her?
I found her in a charity shop and I just fell in love with her, and so I've used her again and again. And then I got more, and I have a necklace with like a Victorian First Holy Communion girl on it too. And so I really like collecting vintage things anyway, and I like that sense of history to them. And it started with when my dad bought me a patchwork quilt for Christmas, and I used to like imagining the women that had stitched this all together. And women, especially in the Salem Witch trials, which I'm really interested in, they used to stitch their diary entries into the quilt and cover them up so that they wouldn't be found.
Oh, they stitched them right inside, so they were like hidden.
Yeah. And then I really liked that idea. I found it quite comforting, and then I started collecting more vintage again and trying to imagine the lives of these girls, and imagine if they'd gone through similar things that I had, and it became kind of a comfort and stuff as well.
Intriguing. So you haven't got a painting or a thing with the Madeline girl in it, have you? We could have a look at.
I've got the drawings only.
Yeah. Let's see that.
So like this is another one.
And is Madeline in that one?
Yeah, so it's her face.
Oh, I see, it's a face. Okay. Oh, yeah, because I was looking for her in the big white outfit. But
maybe like hair actually in the white kind of outfit.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I like that one. That's quite freaky, because that's a bit like a sort of, that reminds me of like an Indian sort of ritual or something, like a sort of, American Indian ritual. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, but I've used the like May Day kind of...
Oh, and the May Day, of course, the May Day thing.
Yeah, and then like the sacrificial, like they're going to kill her. Sorry, that sounds so... They've adorned her in this elaborate outfit that something sinister is going to happen.
Yeah, it's quite intriguing, isn't it? I like the way
like Romani gypsies, like charms and things like that. So yeah, I was reading that at the time, and that's something kind of so magical about it, but also quite sinister.
Yeah. Well, the Wicker Man and that Mayday thing it's got that real sinister element to it the whole way through, hasn't it? It's got that.
Yeah, and even the new version, I can't remember who directed it, but the one with Florence Pugh in it. Yeah. It's not as, but it's quite horrific.
Yeah. The old one's got the real freaky atmosphere vibe to it, hasn't it? Yeah.
And the ritualistic kind of like when they're all like in the graveyard, like having sex.
Yeah. No, you've got that strange atmosphere throughout it, and the ritualistic bit. Intriguing. So are there any artists who you've been inspired by, who you feel have this same kind of narrative sort of weaving?
Peter Darac.
Okay.
He's my favourite, and I know him as well. So, okay. And I did actually do some of my charcoal drawings with him in the studio.
Oh, that's nice.
We kept it at a distance.
You just had the charcoal on a long stick. Yeah.
But like his work is very like kind of German expressionism, but he uses like the same cast, and like his wife died when she was very young, when they were like 23, and she died of cancer. So he always puts Anne, his wife, into the paintings, and cancer as well, like taking her away. So that kind of like making these worlds to keep people safe. Yeah. But also showing like the like hardness of life. I just find his work really magical, and I find him really magical as well. And I think that helps when I like a piece of work. Yeah. And then I also like like some of Leona Carrington's like lithographs.
Okay, yeah.
Like Henry Moore's kind of shapes.
Yeah, because
women.
There's a bit of Henry Moore vibe going on in the background, isn't there? With
my dad was obsessed with Henry Moore, and he used to always show me pictures of Henry Moore.
I love it. So it just filtered into your head, didn't it?
Yeah. But I also love like filmmakers like Sofia Coppola's like Virgin Suicides.
Yeah.
Has definitely played a massive part and been a huge influence.
That's really cool. So do you think there's an element of magic in the paintings, that they can sort of change reality when you're talking about how you're putting the people in them to keep them safe? Do you think they can sort of change the world?
I hope so. I used to think that it would so I started doing this when my granny was really ill. It didn't work because she did die, but I think I kept drawing her in it, and so like she wouldn't die, so it would keep her safe. But then I did it so that I was sort of bringing her back to life again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or like to stop a relationship ending. It's actually probably kind of freaky.
No, I think I've spoken to a lot of people who are talking about the sort of transformative element of painting, the alchemy element of painting. That how there's this kind of there's a magic to it a lot of the time.
Well, I started thinking about it recently, that I like charm things, like I like things that have a meaning. So if I pick jewelry, it has to be like a charm kind of element to it. So I think I think of the paintings a bit like talisman kind of like charms, or I want them to be.
Yeah. No, it's a really nice idea. The paintings are talismans, like magical. Well, almost like not like quite like a dream catcher, but like a sort of something you'd have in the home to sort of protect you, maybe.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a nice idea. So have you got any? I mean, did you want to show me any more of your paintings, maybe from a website or something?
Share my screen. Yeah. So this was it's called It Felt Like a Bad Flu, except it wasn't.
Okay.
And it's like a modern day Primavera, like Botticelli's Primavera.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
But they're all linked together through their hair, but also through the menstruation blood that's linking them together. Cool. But it's about, I tried to like method act within them to feel like, to see how they would be feeling. And I just thought that maybe they'd be feeling about like sick and fluey, but also excited. But then like losing children too, or like abortion, and about the abortion laws, and like everywhere really it's still like a big taboo, and how we still don't really have the right to our bodies. So I kind of was looking at that. So this person's just lost something.
Yeah.
That's why she's covering her face. So it's kind of
Yeah. Her hair, her braided hair, looks to me as if it comes down into like a knife. Is that, or a dagger?
A knot.
So the one covering her face, and then the braided hair comes down and into like a knife or a dagger. Is that right, or is that just me dreaming?
It's you, but it could be. Stabbing that really pregnant one.
Exactly. Yeah, in quite a freaky fashion. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that before. That's quite. I think she feels quite overwhelmed by the other girls. I think, and I think like there's like the age I am as well, about my friends talking about having children, and about like about career, and the judgment you get like either way.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, you mean judgment? What is it a critical judgment for having children?
Yeah, having children or not having children.
Interesting, isn't it?
Like, I think if you have children and you maybe, like, I don't know, you're seen as, you get criticised, but if you don't have them, you're also criticised. So.
Yeah, you can't win, can you?
These were all the ones I was making for my solo show last year at Sea and Space with Emily and Jonah. Sure. And I started to really like Paolo Uccello and The Night in the Forest, because my partner was ill at the time, and he lived in Oxford, so he was in Oxford with his parents.
Okay.
But every Saturday when I'd see him, we'd go to the Ashmolean because he loved the Ashmolean.
Yeah, sure.
And we'd have to go to look at the Paliucellos, a hunt in the forest, every Saturday. But he'd forget he'd already told me about this painting, so I'd have to re-listen to but I ended up really liking it, and it kind of coming into my work, and like taking out the girls in the darkness, and like the ritualistic element in that painting. Again, it's kind of a similar theme.
It's got a really, I really like the background. I like the contrast between the background that's sort of dark and quite nice greys and that dark green, and then you got the lighter sort of people in the front of it. And
I was reading A Handmaid's Tale as well, so I think that's why they've got these sort of type things. And it was when Van Gogh's exhibition was on, or just after that, and there was some of his drawings. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a lady, and she had like her head in her hands, and I think there was a child nearby or something.
Yeah. No, I remember that one. So kind
of struck me.
So so there's I like you say, there's a similar kind of theme. So because there's one person, either they're like shielding their head, or a bit, are they like that with their arm? So a bit like the one and the other one holding their hand over their face. This quite.
I don't know if it's. Go on.
Sorry, go on.
I went to like a really conservative Catholic school, and I think I wasn't able to actually draw women for a really long time because I felt kind of embarrassed about being a female and like being a woman and having those kind of features. In a way, so I think that's why I used to always draw men, especially in my earlier work, and I think then I started to feel, I don't know, I wanted to start exploring them, and that's why I've stretched their skin and elongated them a lot to try and kind of deal with my own struggles with bodies and stuff.
Yeah, intriguing, because it gives them quite idiosyncratic kind of look. It's like your own way of depicting them.
This is when I used to work in King's Hall Leisure Centre in Hackney, and it's a Victorian swimming baths. Which is why I've got all that kind of detail. But I used to always have to do women only sessions for Hasidic Jews and Orthodox Jews, so no men were allowed. And the swimming teachers used to teach in their Jewish outfits.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked very atmospheric, so I kind of wanted to capture that. And I've always really loved the Ophelia. She represents, so kind of I like drawing people submerged in water, like drowning. That environment is really beautiful.
It's really cool because it looks like the one in the center. It looks a bit like their neck is sort of disappearing into the water as well. They're sort of almost their necks they're almost being submerged into it as well, which is kind of cool.
This is with acrylic as well. So I've only really been working with oil for 3 years maybe.
So with the hair that shoots around the painting out of the people, was that were you thinking formally of that as a way to draw the viewer's eye around the picture, or was it really just how you felt like doing it?
Well, both. So I wanted it to feel knotty and it's weighing you down, or pulling, you as the viewer is sort of attached to the hair too, so you're being dragged into the image. But I also was thinking, so in the Virgin Suicides book, there's a quote about the stench of girls' hair clogging the drains. And it's true. I don't know if you I've got quite long hair, and when it goes into the drains, it smells so horrible. It's horrid. And also when I was a lifeguard, our job was after women's only session to unplug the drains.
Seriously?
ungut them of all this like hair, and it was
man.
horrible, and it's covered in shampoo and like body fat, and it's disgusting and it reeks. So I kind of wanted to make the hair feel like that stench kind of thing.
So is that like, because I mean hair is an important part of, I suppose, how women are seen as beautiful and things, isn't it? Were you trying to sort of play against that view?
Well, I don't know if I'm playing against it, but I don't know if I should. There's a quote in Fleabag, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, where she says, "Hair is everything," and it is true. I know that sounds bad, and as a female, I shouldn't say that, but when you feel if your hair is shit, you really feel shit the whole day. But I was using it as a way of like, it's almost like an umbilical cord in my work.
Oh, okay, nice, like it.
So it's like tying the girls together, and I think I've always had like, I like symbolic motifs like that.
Yeah. So the hair's like a good and a bad thing, sort of tying them down and
and also like a lot of people drown in swimming pools because their hair gets stuck in those grates.
Seriously?
Yeah, so that's why you're always told to have your hair tied up.
That's so
well, maybe also because it's like annoying to fish out hair.
Yeah. I mean, couldn't they just have a big pair of scissors? Sounds stupid. Couldn't they just have a big pair of scissors beside the pool just to like chop it off before they drown?
Yeah, they should. But I think it's because you don't notice it, like, because the water distorts you as well. So like, and lots of like kids dive in, and then they'll be playing around the steps or grating, and then the girls' hair especially gets caught and knotted in, and then they're pulling at it, and then
Man, well, that's quite interesting. That's all sorts of things I didn't know about swimming pools. Yeah, show us another one. That's really cool.
And that's a diptych.
Okay, how big is that painting in real life? I mean, is it big or?
Big. It's like over 200 centimeters.
Yeah. So it's big. Yeah.
But I would like to go bigger.
No, nice one.
Space.
So that is inspired by that Ophelia painting, isn't it?
Yes, and also it's inspired by. I was listening to a documentary about Paula Rego, and she was talking about the abortion laws in Portugal.
Oh, right.
And apparently, like, a lot of the fishermen's wives used to go and get abortions. They were poorer, and so they couldn't get proper ones done, so their partners would do it for them, and then they'd be found like floating in the water, like dead, but with massive swollen bellies. And I don't know why they got there, but in the water. But I just it's a horrible image, but it's also it's so sad as well. But also something about the swollen bellies and stuff. I wanted to try and capture it. I think this one maybe did it the most.
Yeah, that's because I was wondering why there's like 3 or maybe even 4 Ophelias, but there's more of them because they're sort of it's that story as well interwoven in.
Yeah. How I don't know, like Ophelia's a really tragic story, but I kind of wanted to do it.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's desperately romantic as well, sort of in a way, isn't it? Tragic, romantic, and sort of very it's difficult to sum it up in a word, isn't it? But yeah, it's sort of magical as well as awful.
It's magical, but also Shakespeare's female characters are always they're more interesting than his male ones.
Oh dear, yeah, you see.
Maybe they've got a bit more like Hamlet and people like that always seem a bit like idiotic. Whereas, like Lady Macbeth or Ophelia, even though she's now herself, she's still got a bit of grit, I think.
That's interesting, actually. And I don't know if you've ever read Coriolanus. Coriolanus' mother, Volumnia, she's really domineering over him. I don't know if you read it, he's incredibly strong, like a hero and everything. But the only thing that nobody can kill him, hurt him, or defeat him, the only thing that eventually breaks him is his mother. And she pulls him to pieces, basically, and then he's killed easily by somebody else. So
it's really interesting.
Go on, do you want to show us maybe one more?
This is called Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board.
Okay, oh, that's cool. So,
and it's from the. Have you ever watched The Craft?
Oh, wait, is it a film? It's like a sort of teen
It's a
film.
1996.
Yeah. I love those. I'm sure I have watched it. I can't remember it in detail, but I like all those sort of things. Yeah.
There's a game in it that they play. It's about witchcraft, which I like as a kind of a female sort of identity, or things about strong women or women that have been persecuted throughout the ages, are always called witches, things like that. This is in the game they play this sleepover. It's like a classic sleepover game called Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board, where you have to hold the girls or a boy. So there's 4 people around the person lying in the middle, and you have to put your fingers like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you put them under the person in the middle, and then you chant "Light as a feather, stiff as a board, light as a feather, stiff as a board."
Okay.
And the person in the middle is meant to start levitating.
Cool.
So in the film it works, obviously, because they're all witches. And have magical powers.
Have you ever tried? Have you tried to do that in real life?
Yes.
Did it work?
No. If you pretend, if you maybe squint your eyes a bit, you can kind of pretend it does.
Okay, that's really cool.
So this is what they're doing. So these are like the Salem Witch.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Like that time, and then this is the Ophelia again. So the hair's like dragging her down, and it's about the illegal abortion, but. They're like rising her up out of the water, but kind of lifting her up as like a sacrificial kind of element again. I think I'm really interested in that and how it like appears in folklore, but also like religion and like Catholic folklore and things like that. And then there's things like daisies floating by, because daisies signify Ophelia's innocence.
Oh, I see. How would you say it appears in Catholic folklore?
Well, there's things like that that are very similar to like witchcraft beliefs, which I find quite interesting. Like if the hanging of a rosary on a door is meant to like ward off evil, and how you have these crossovers. And recently, I was researching about mermaid mythology for a class I was teaching, and Jesus was portrayed as a mermaid a lot. Because of his dual nature, so part man and part human and part God. Yeah. So I just find things like how like religion kind of gets confused in sort of mythology or into like this folklore traditions, and how actually it's not really that dissimilar. Yeah. Like from like the practice of witchcraft or paganism to Catholicism.
Interesting. Also, I find the picture interesting. It's interesting. I mean, you've got the woman the Ophelia, a woman who's very straight, and then you've got that nice bit of like the dress dropping down as a heavy sort of diagonal bit at the end, which is nice. It's interesting because I actually see her as being sort of almost lowered in to the water by the 3 people.
It looks almost a bit like a burial as well.
Yeah.
Like
it does actually.
Historic kind of burial of somebody significant, maybe. Yeah,
it's quite a strange image.
But I think like the way I paint like these angles and stuff, I like to find an anchor in a painting or something that anchors an image, and I think things like that do. And I like how like different lines, and there's different entries and exit levels.
Oh yeah, so you are thinking about it quite formally as well.
Yeah, but I think I think more about the story, and I probably should think about painting more formally.
I don't know. You don't want to kind of jinx your thing, do you? Cool, nice one. So, I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot about all these things. They're interesting, fascinating things. Is there anything else you'd like to just talk about your practice and work before we sort of sum it up?
I should, shouldn't I? I think I've gotten.
Yeah.
I think I try and make the characters like I'm enshrining them, like they're like icons in a way. Maybe that's why they're also quite elongated, because elongating sort of shows their importance and significance. Yeah. And I love like religious.
Yeah, the religious iconography. Yeah. Oh, it's really cool. It's really cool. I think they're lovely paintings. Absolutely fascinating, and they're really cool. And I've really enjoyed finding out about them. So Melissa, thank you very much for spending the time. It's been cool. I hope you've sort of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the noises.
Don't worry about that. It's all part of the lockdown vibe. We get a bit more craziness than normal, which makes it more entertaining.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Nice one. Cheers, Melissa. Bye.
Bomba